Welcome to On Your Own Terms. I'm Patty Talbot, and this is the place where we learn together what it takes to change the world on our own terms and in our own special ways. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Christy Sharafinski. I met Christy because she did some wonderful design work for me around my signature speech about the change-making power of the feminine collective. It was really fun getting to know her through that process, and really fun, especially because I felt really gotten and understood by her. She understood what I was trying to convey and pulled it out of me and helped me express it in a way that was creative and brought her artist eye to the development of my slides and some imagery around that message. So I reached out to Christy not long ago and discovered that she's got her irons in a lot of fires. But today I'm interested in introducing her to you specifically to talk about how she helps high school students prepare their own messaging for their college essays. As you will learn, it's a complex process, and getting students, just like getting entrepreneurs like myself, to be able to fully express our messages in a way that conveys who we are as individual people is quite an art. And Christy has mastered that art in a way that's helping lots and lots of high school students actually get a handle on their messaging and express what they're trying to say about themselves in the most unique and profound ways, so that they get the second looks from the universities that they have their eyes set on. She helps these students broaden their perspective, and she helps them to brand themselves in ways that comes across and makes them viable candidates for the schools of their choice. So today, Christy has agreed to tell her story and share her message using the Blue Road's Changemaker framework, Homegrown Solutions for a Patchwork World. This is Christy Sharafinski.
I am probably, without knowing it, a mom first. I remember the day I walked into mom and dad. I was out of college and I was like, Mom, Dad, you are never going to have any kids from me. I'm just going to be single. I'm going out into the world and I'm going to do my thing. And I could not have been more wrong about who I was. And I just did not know myself. I had one of my sisters, I'm having 10 kids. The other one was like, 5 kids. Both of them have 2. And I went on to have 6. I have 6 kids of my own in 9 years. This is part of who I am. If we want to learn something, if we want to grow, the best way to do it is to have multiple iterations as quickly as possible. One way I did that was to have 6 children. I've hosted 13 French exchange students in the past decade, which I love. When you have 6 kids, you can't necessarily travel as much as you would like to. My dad was an airline pilot. He left the Air Force, went into the airlines. And so I've traveled a lot. I've been in all 50 states, not just by flying. My parents insisted one summer on driving us across the country. I've been to multiple continents and multiple places around the world. And so when I couldn't offer that to my own children, just because of who we are and what our family situation is, I started to welcome the world to us. And I love that. And honestly, it was something that was actually modeled to me in my childhood. We had a number of different people. Our church had our family host these different people because we had an extra bedroom. So a priest from Africa and another one that we had from Ireland. We had an Australian exchange student live with us for 6 months. So in my mind, this is what you do as a family. And for me to welcome a piece of the world, I love that for my children. And 4 of them have gotten to go be for at least a month in France with another family as a part of a mutual exchange, which is just such a gift to them. Their whole world expanded. We start to think What we see around us is, quote, the world, and it's just not. So I just think it's so important, right? Let's expand, let's explore. And then that's how we can start to make an impact because we're actually just getting outside of our own homes. We're starting to have experiences and going, oh, there's more to it. And it's okay. I'm safe. Let's do this. So here's Christy. She's got all these kids. The first one hits high school. We put him in a private military all boys school. He made it 1 year because at the end of the year, he's number 7 from the bottom and says, Mom, I have a C average and average is 5, not with this tuition. But I think part of the reason that my own path had us be in that school, I go to college night and there's one gentleman there who really caught my attention. I went to 3 college planner people. The first 2, they have the slideshows and the great presentation. Oh, that's so good. But the last one had none of that. He just stood up there and said, you've got questions. I've got answers. Shoot. And people went at him rapid fire for the next hour. And I was stunned at how much this individual knew. And it was clear from the questions and answers. He had about 20 years as a professional college planner, and he's in all the associations, et cetera. But afterwards, I was like, I can help this guy. I can help him with his marketing. I just knew it. I pitched him in 30 seconds in a moment of bravery and maybe craziness. He called me the next week and said, Christy, why don't you come into my office? I think I can help you. I think you can help me. And he ended up hiring me. Not so much to quote, just do the marketing. You really need my help with 6 kids. You are in trouble. And interestingly, I had a cousin who is on the Chicago Board of Trade. Money is not an issue. And he pulled me aside at a family event and he said, Christy, I just need you to know you're in trouble. So here I'm hearing it from 2 sides. Just to put it in context, at the point, I live in Chicago. To go to the flagship state school, University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, $65,000 a year before room and board. I couldn't afford that much for all of my kids. So many other families are like, we're just going to go to the community college, which are great options. But so anyway, I go in to meet with Mike. He says, I think you need to come work for me on staff. And so I did, doing his marketing. But when he got in season with his students, he is not a writer. It's just not his thing. So he's like, I need you to help these kids know how to write their essays. So I did the first year. And I was not great at it. I knew it. I knew I was okay. I knew they were well edited, but I'm like, there's got to be more to these essays than just that. So I started really researching it, learning about it. And I really came to look at it as personal branding, which we've all kind of heard about, even in a business context. So I began doing it, and I did it for 4 years there with 17 and 18-year-olds. And one of the biggest things I discovered, one is when you have a young person, these students are given questions that are written for a 25-year-old mind, right? Like the mind goes through this major shift in the mid-20s and into adulthood. The questions are handed to a 17 or 18-year-old. They are hard. How do they tell their deepest story when they just don't even have a clue of who they are? Yes, they like to talk about themselves all day long, but they've never been taught how to do it in a way that actually reveals something about themselves in their high school classes. High school classes are all about, give us not stories. It's all about analyze this thing or review and synthesize. You're inside the bottle and you're being forced to read what's outside the bottle and you can't see it. And mom writing the essay is clearly obvious. What does that mean? It means they can spot a mom written essay. They can spot a poorly written essay. Their senses are highly attuned. And so the students who are getting the acceptances at the more competitive schools, who are getting money at the more competitive schools, they're doing something different. And the one thing parents don't know is that about 25% of all students today, because college is so expensive, are getting professional help. And so if you're not, and you're just trusting your student to write this essay in school because they've been given time or a class, which is very common, and it sounds great to parents, you actually don't realize the opportunity and potentially the money that you are missing as a result of just letting the school handle this piece of the process for you. And one of the reasons the essay is so important, it's just worth mentioning for a minute, is we've got our grades. We have our grades or GPA, and we have our test scores. These are the two elements that the schools are looking at. But here's the thing, when you're at a more competitive school or even a state school today, your student looks like everybody else on paper. They're just not so unique. And it's really hard. I had a family last year come to me. Their son is the president of the class, prom king. He's taking all the APs. So he looks like a superstar on paper. But mom and dad have him applying to the Ivy Leagues and the this and the that. And I said to him, you don't realize it. Every other student there looks exactly the same or better. Has your son started a business? Has he been running a blog for 2 or 3 years? No, no. You need to realize actually he's very average or below. And so you've got to applying to different schools that are real safety schools because no Ivy League school gives money. Even if they're number one in their class, showing up above these students with professional help is about zero. Why? I'll give you an example. I've worked with students who are number one in their class. And I said to one of them, how many times do you edit a paper on average? Oh, 5, Mrs. Sharafinski. I'm like, you're lying. He goes, 1 or 2. I said, you know how many times we're going to edit your essay? 10. And he goes, no, we're not. And I said, yes, we are. And I double checked it at the end. That was about 5 years ago. I double checked my students this last year. We're still doing 10 rounds of edits. There is no student I know who is willing to put that kind of time and effort in. They just want to get it done. They're like us. We're human. We have other things to do. I worked with students for 4 years, dozens of them. This was a big organization I was part of. He's nationally known. Mike is in the book, Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be by Frank Bruni, a best-selling New York Times author, for example. It was nice to do a lot of iterations, right? In my own business, as I work with the students, as I talk to the families, they come from so many backgrounds. I get the kids that look like mine, white middle class. I get top. I get kids that have different backgrounds. They're coming out of an Indian or a Jewish tradition or a Christian tradition or no religious. And all of them are unique and actually have unique stories. And so the more students I've worked with, the more I'm able to say to them, oh no, my friend, you're not writing on that topic. I'm very nice about it. I know you think it's brilliant and fabulous. I'll give you an example. I one time had identical twins come to me. I was working with them in the office. I said, you both have ideas for your essay? Yes. Have you talked to each other about? No. I said, great. Go in different rooms, go write, come back. They wrote the same essay. They thought it was so unique. What was that essay? On what my life experience is as a twin. I now tell any identical twins or regular twins who comes to me, you're not writing that essay because guess what? Every kid in America who's a twin thinks it's so unique because every day it gets reflected back to them 10 times how different they are, their experience as a twin. And I'm like, no, you're so much more than your birth order. So let's get to that deeper story. And we're only going to do it in conversation, in doing some worksheets, doing some back and forth. But it's so rare that a student actually picks the story that we end up using as their topic because they don't realize how special that is. And this story reveals it. They want to think just like you and I when we had our first date back in the day, right? We got to look so good and be so impressive. I'm like, no, that's not your deepest story. And it's actually not the one the admissions counselor wants to read. It's not the one that's going to make a difference of a yes or a no. Here's the thing. Although I work with these high school students, my clients, the people that are hiring me are mom or dad, which is so interesting. So I actually have a relationship with mom and dad. And I'm like, look, I get to be the bad guy, not you. That way you can actually enjoy senior year with your son or daughter as much as you can, especially if this is your first young person going through the process or your only one. You have no idea the tidal wave that's about to hit you. You think it's going to be a couple college visits. We're going to do these little applications. You've got all the activities at school. It's going to be so fun. And they're about to realize this kid is getting the equivalent of a heavy part-time job coming in that they are not being paid for and no one is telling them how to do it. and it ends up being mom. All of a sudden, this kid is starting to differentiate, right? They're starting to realize I'm going to be somewhere else next year. I'm my own person, right? All these shifts are happening in this family. And this is the gift of my getting to work with them. And this is where I actually see it as sacred work beyond just being a service provider. And so, what do I mean by that? Mom and dad, you're starting to get to take your hands off them, but you still have to stay really engaged. How do we do this? I am now your new secret weapon because I get to be the bad guy. But what happens is your kid's going to show up for me in a way they'll never show up for you. They're going to say, okay, I'll do that. Parents say to me all the time, I've said that to them 5 times. I'm like, of course you have. They tend to now think that your IQ is a quarter of what it is because it's even the meaning of sophomore, right? It's something about like thinking you know it all. Anyway, but I'm an adult authority figure. And so here I am. Here's one of the things I also say to my students. There's young adults. I'm not your mom. I'm not a teacher. You're allowed to disagree with me. And I'm even going to encourage you to, because this has to be yours. Yes, I have insights and input and ideas, but you can disagree with me. And I tell them the story of Rosemary. I gave her the same comment on that essay 5 different times, which is me being too slow. Now I won't do it more than 3. If a student ignores something 2 times, I'm done. That's their decision. And I'm going to honor it, right? It's got to be in your voice. Don't let me override you. So I make sure my students know this. But here's the thing. Even these kids at the top of the class are expert procrastinators. Why? Because they can write really fast. And now you got AI coming in. And I know there's a bunch of parents out there who think AI is going to take care of it. Why? Because their student was actually using it in school last year, even though mom and dad don't know what it is. And I'm going to tell you, AI can write your deepest story. I've been testing it and I'm a professional. I'm using AI in my business every day. I am going to bring it in with my students this year in a way that works. But if you think your kid's going to submit an AI written essay and win all this stuff, you are wrong. Because a student from Princeton even created the AI that can identify AI writing. Don't you think every college out there is applying this? I do. And yes, this process is going to change in the next 3 years. But here's what's not going to change and why my work is important. And that is these are people, young people, at a moment in time that they have not experienced up until now. That is the equivalent of our forebears and ancestors long ago that had these trials the young people would go to, where they'd be sent out of the tribe. You go out and slay the lion. And when you have, now you can come back and we hope we see you again. And don't you look back, because if you do, that's shame on your whole family. You be tough, you get out there, do it. And we don't have that in our civilization today, that coming of age ritual for young men or young women. Some cultures do. This moment, senior year of high school, is it in our culture, where this young person is leaving the nest. Mom, even if she's helicoptered, and of course, none of my parents ever think they have because they're caring parents. That mom is not moving into the dorm room with Johnny or Susie. Like, you're not. So we need to build some skills that the school has not put in and parents haven't even put in, possibly. So I'm talking to my students about their time management. I'm talking to them about how to be that person who no longer procrastinates, what to do when you fail, because I actually want my students to fail. They need to learn how to have the resiliency to fail. How does that show up? You're going to get some rejection letters, please. I don't think I've ever had a student, even the number 1 or number 2 in their class of 1,000 students, not get a rejection letter. And what do we do with that? These are students who have succeeded in everything. Not all of them, but some of them. Then I do have my students who are used to failing. I had one young man who went to a high school, very special because his dyslexia. So how do we write those essays when you can't even write? But he had brilliance in other areas. He was used to failing. So that was a different conversation with him than it is around that young man or young woman who's at the top of the class than it is with the one who's very average. And that's the beauty of working with an adult who sees you, the individual, parent and student and builds a long relationship. Although I work with my students on these essays, it's a window of 3 to 4 months, depending on when you show up in my world. I'm going to be with you, though, until next May when you are making those final decisions. Why? And I tell my students and my families, look, I am not your typical college essay writing person. Why? Because in other parts of my world, the branding world that I've been doing for over 20 years with business owners, with entrepreneurs, I've held over 600 one-on-one strategy sessions with business owners where we are talking and walking through next steps. I bring that strategy excellence into my conversations with my families. Because I worked with this college planner, I know way more than the average person in terms of colleges you want to look at and why. If you really want money, if you really want acceptance letters, I have never had a family that's come to me that we take their list and don't add in a couple more. And sometimes they end up being the schools, and sometimes their list is right. The right schools are there. It's fine, right? Parents, you can say no to me as well. I'm just a resource for you, and I stay connected over time so that I can help you transition, mom and dad. I'm helping bridge, midwife, Sherpa, these people into adulthood. And I understand that. I am not just a service provider. I'm on one level, as much as you want me to, a part of your family, a trusted resource, I hope, someone that is a safe adult in that world that you can trust. And we can have those conversations on both the adult and the young adult side to help that young person get the best for their future. There are tons of resources out there. I work to be one. Actually invite parents to come talk to me. I do a 30-minute conversation, no obligation, and I'll let you know if you're in good hands. And not everybody is going to join me at whatever level, but you don't know what you don't know, and it will cost you. Most of my clients are their first young person in their family. But the second biggest group is parents who did it themselves with number one, who tends to be, because I'm an oldest child, I get to say this, A-type, very organized, super driven. And now they're looking at young person number two in their family and going, oh my God, we're in trouble. Because that kid is people-oriented, schedules, what's that? I got my social life. And those parents are like, we barely made it through with number one. We're coming and we're getting help. Again, they recognize that their young people are different. And I think the other thing that's really worth remembering is the fact that you would never think of buying a house without help, professional help, right? You've got a realtor, biggest investment we're ever going to make. You buy a car half the time you're buying it with somebody. But the better example is the number of people who do weddings now with a wedding planner. Why? The average wedding, parents of girls pay attention, is $30,000 in the US. You can get through college for a lot less. So you hire somebody to do your wedding one day, and you don't think about hiring somebody to help you with college, which is 4 years or 6 years or beyond. College is mind-bogglingly expensive, but it doesn't have to be. But you have to start early in order to get yourself lined up to be in a school that your student possibly is going to for a massive discount or no charge at all. And occasionally I have students that actually are paid to go for school. And yes, I have resources. I am not a scholarship genius, but I have resources I'll point my families to. We got to get out of that comfort zone. What can you do today or this week? Like, what do I want to do today? What would be fun for me? And the ideas that start to come because I've now created space in my life where I'm not just a human doing, I am a human being. And that is my invitation to all of us to just keep evolving by doing something different. And if you can, put it on your calendar regularly to support yourself in that, because future you will thank you for taking that action today. Now, how do you connect with me? My work as the founder of easiercollegeessays.com. I offer a couple of different programs. So there are some freebies, of course, on my website, because I want you to come and be connected with me ongoing, especially if your young person is younger. It gives you time to start the conversation with me. Secondly, though, I offer monthly complete your essay in a weekend workshops. These are virtual, although some of my people here in North Carolina, I'm in the Charlotte area, will actually come. I do work with students intensely because parents think I'm doing this essay. Woohoo, I'm done. You don't realize your student doesn't just do this common app essay. They are going to do something called supplemental essays. And on average, my students have 12 to 20 additional essays they are writing. And so I am working with them on all of them. And they are tough. Some of the toughest ones are the ones that say, in 65 characters, tell us blank. I work with them in 2 one-on-one sessions so we nail it and help that student show up as the superstar they are, no matter who they are. It's all in how you position it. This year, I'm starting to welcome students in for a real VIP. This is for the family. We want to be in your ongoing program because no student can really do justice to everything, even in just a weekend or a week or two. We need weeks and months, but they really want to get a jump start on the experience. I bring those young people into my own home, very small group or just 1 or 2, and we go out and we play hard and we work hard and we really get to know each other and we rocket launch their process of essays and that journey to college. So
thank you so much, Christy. I knew that our audience would get something important from you because whether you are preparing to send your beloved baby child that's growing up out into the world to find an educational institution that suits them the best and will help them to thrive and prepare for the next steps in life, or you are looking to brand yourself more positively and convey who you are in your own endeavors, Christy Sharafinski has something for you. I hope you'll reach out to her in the ways that she has indicated, and I hope you'll follow her work and champion her work and help those high school students you know to make connections to people like Christy that can help them better prepare for their next steps in life. I know you can easily see how Christy's work is connected to the Sustainable Development Goals. Of course, quality education, but do you see how it's also connected to decent work and economic growth? Because we all know that the best tool in our toolkit to get the jobs and the positions and live the life of purpose that we want is education. And higher education, at the cost it is today, is not accessible to everyone, even though it should be. And Christy's toolbox and her special skills and her special ways of helping people see who they are and tell their most compelling stories is a really important step along that journey to the kind of work that makes us economically solid so they can change the world on their own terms. Next week, I'll feature another change-making woman and learn about how she's changing the world on her own terms. You will be inspired and get some ideas to apply to your own life of purpose. In the meantime, may you be grounded in your beingness, guided in your doingness, generous in your connectedness, and inspired in your reflectiveness, so you can also consciously change the world on your own terms. I'm Patty Talbot. I'm always learning, and I know you are too.